videos. So I love the way that it's been organized, and mashallah to the organizers and what they've done. I'll start off by a little bit of the recap of the last couple of weeks, which I think was really masterfully done and designed, because when Dr. Lina talked about community the first week, she talked a lot about like belonging, the loneliness epidemic, and then her story of how she had to find community to really be able to find a trusting, group that she could surround herself with, because that trust allows us to then take risks. And then by taking risks, we grow, right, and develop. And so we're social beings. We need that community. When we come out, into this world, we belong to someone. Someone brought us into this world. And so it starts with community, but as you'll see, it actually is like a flywheel between the three different topics that we've discussed, the two topics we've discussed, and then what we're gonna do today, inshallah. And then Uthman talked about identity, which is really asking the question of, who am I? What am I doing here? What's my mission? Like, what's my job? Who put me here? Right? Big questions. And so that's why this has been a crazy program, mashallah. It's very, very deep questions that we all need to ask ourselves as human beings. And he talked about the mission of being a trustee, of being a khalifa, right, last week. And so, community, who do we belong to, where do we come from, identity around what's our job, what's our purpose, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for. And then finally, when we come to what's my purpose? What was Allah created for? What was Dina created for? What was Charles created for? And then what's our role, right, and contribution into the community, and to fulfill the mission that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. So that's what, inshallah, we'll talk about today, and how it kind of ties together. So I'll start off with a question for you guys, for you all, around who feels, just raise hands, right? Who feels like the work they do today, the job that you have, the community work that you're involved in, or whatever, aligns to their purpose and what really inspires them? Just show of hands. Okay, mashallah, so we have a few. I'm going to call on you. And then who doesn't feel like it really aligns to, like, you don't really go to work every day inspired and just ready to take the day on, and like sometimes, it's just got to be, it's a job. I got to make money and pay the bills. Who feels that way? Okay, that's okay. All right, cool. We're not going to have a lot of time in the beginning, but in the discussion time, we'll be able to kind of go into that. But I want to ask, Sam, you raised your hand, or you feel like your work really aligns with your purpose. Just quickly, why do you feel that way?
It aligns with my mission, what I wanted to do in my life. I build schools, Islamic schools, so I'm very proud of that.
Alhamdulillah. That's awesome. One of the sisters raised her hand. Okay.
I'm a teacher, and I feel like I work with elementary school students in elementary, and I feel like being able to see them grow and kind of guide them and help them not only academically, but just grow their confidence, their emotional intelligence, their problem-solving skills. Alhamdulillah, is very fulfilling.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, and who said that my work doesn't really align with my purpose and what inspires me? You want to say? What?
So I work as an identity access management engineer. So it's just a lot of like who has access to what, and I think the work I do is important in people's information being protected. But sometimes I just feel like the issues are a bit like made up or not real because it's not in like the physical world, I guess. So sometimes I feel like it doesn't align necessarily with me as like a creative person.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I part of Iraq. Some of you might know Ahmad, my brother, Ali, my brother, Umama, my sister. We grew up in this area, but I was the oldest, so I was born in Iraq, and I didn't come here until I was 7 years old. In Iraq, I was like a top student, okay, top achiever. When we came to America, we came to visit, but we ended up staying here because of the war that started between Iraq and Kuwait. And what ended up happening was my parents had to sign me up for school. So I come from kind of being the top achieving, student there to not knowing any English and being held back a grade. And I felt like, oh, it's such a failure. And it was really hard, but then alhamdulillah, I did really well, and I was like, I got this, like, I'm gonna prove myself, I'm gonna do really well, I'm gonna learn and grow. And I ended up skipping a grade later, got back to, the level that I needed to be. And then just, that stayed with me. Like, a lot of us as immigrants, like, we always feel like we gotta fit in, but we also wanna prove ourselves. We belong here, like, we can do it. And so I went, good schools, graduated, started working. I literally would ask myself, like, how can I, like, be admired in America, right? And the way that, growing up in the 90s, if you make money, you're admired. So I literally chose finance as my major. And I studied finance, and I did well, and then I worked in the field. And then I realized, man, like, okay, finance is good, whatever, but the guys that do business development are the ones that are actually making the money and bringing in the money. So I went into business development, and I did amazing there. And then I was like, oh, the guys that are able to go internationally and do global work, they're the ones that are like, if I do that, then I'll feel really good about myself. And I started doing that and did really well there. And then, subhanAllah, I got an opportunity to go and work at Amazon. I was like, yeah, the tech world, like, if I kill it in the tech world, that's when I'm gonna feel like really good about what I'm doing and contributing. So I was like going through the playbook, right, of like what it takes to like earn your stripes, right? But it was all external validation, right? It wasn't anything. I just kept winning and winning and winning, but I wasn't feeling a lot better. I wasn't feeling really fulfilled. And Lena mentioned this, in her story. And so I went to Amazon, and then I had a chance to build this team. And I had to become really vulnerable and really ask myself, like, okay, what am I doing this for? What is happening? At the same time, my kids were getting a little bit older, and I was missing a lot of things with them. And I was about, I was 38, 39, I was like kind of getting to that 40 years old, and I was really asking myself a lot of questions like, what is this about? Like, all these questions that we've been talking about, right? And I was like, the more accolades, the more, the higher I go. I became one of the youngest executives at Amazon. Like, it didn't matter anymore as much as I thought it would. So, alhamdulillah, I started doing a lot more reflections on the Quran. We were doing it, me and Uwais and Ahmad and Ali and just kind of a group of us. And that's when I started to find some real answers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is what you all have been going through like these last few weeks, really delving in and asking these tough questions, like, who created me? Why do I exist? Why did he create me? What am I doing here? Where am I going to go after this? Like, what am I supposed to do? These are like very high level questions, but intellectually, I grew up in a family that, my grandfather was a scholar, my mother's a scholar, PhD, Islamic studies, my wife's Islamic studies, mashallah, PhD. Like, I knew this stuff intellectually. I never really knew that I didn't feel it. I wasn't living it. And so when Umar was talking about alignment, I was totally misaligned without even realizing it. I thought that just knowing the right things, that put me in alignment with what Allah wanted. I was praying, I was fasting, I was doing all those things. But then in my life, I'm sitting there, laying people off when I know I shouldn't be laying them off. But I had to, because my work told me I had to do it. Or I was doing some other things where it was like, you gotta miss your kids' events, right? That was really important to them because you have to earn that bonus, right? And I started to realize, like, that's not what makes me, that's not what motivates me. And even when I do get it, I don't feel any better. And so that's where I started really asking these questions, and I started to find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pointing me in different directions. And then I found a few concepts that I'll go through with you, just to ground it. And then I found this thing about really finding your purpose and understanding how to actually do that, and the mechanisms and the skills and the tools that you need. So the first thing I wanted to go through is the 3 core concepts. They really help ground me. One of them, and I'll ask you guys, was around stewardship versus ownership. Who can tell me, what do you think that means, stewardship versus ownership? Okay, let me ask a different question. What is, when someone at work tells you, hey, I really want you to own this project, what do they mean by that?
I guess like take initiative on that project overall and kind of see it through and champion it the most.
Okay. Do you, when that happens, do you really feel like you own it?
Not really, because you're just like told to do it, not necessarily like you want to do it out of your own will and passion to work on that project.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, so that's true. I mean, that's another piece where you hear these things at work, and people are like, yeah, I want you to be an owner. And you're like, I don't really own, I don't have stock, I don't have equity in this company, like what do I own actually? But when you're in it, you kind of don't ask those questions because you see your paycheck coming in, right? And you're like, all right, all good. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the amazing thing, as I went through the Quran and learned this a little bit more and grounded it in my life. That was the difference. It really grounded. When somebody, like if I give you this pen and I say, hey, this is your pen, do whatever you want with it, you own it. Versus I give it to you and say, Dina, this is a pen I'm entrusting you with, please take care of it. Which one would you be more likely to be vigilant about and really take care of? The one where you own it or the one where you're just entrusted with it?
One that you're entrusted with.
Why?
Because of that trust you've built between me and you. So now I'm like, oh, I'm responsible for this pen, and Omar is trusting me with this pen.
Yeah, you see the difference? Right? A lot of, in our current culture, it's like, no, you own. Well, if I own it, I do whatever I want with it. I have no responsibility for anybody else. So when somebody says, you own yourself, you own your decisions, you own your choices. Maybe, no, not really, because somebody put me here, they put me here for a reason, and they gave me a mission and a responsibility, and they gave me everything that I have. And they want me to do something with it. So I don't really own it, someone else owns it, which we know is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That kind of paradigm shift really helped ground me. So that's one. The second one is pursuit versus results. Who wants to tell me, what do you think that means?
Pursuit?
Pursuit versus results.
I think pursuit versus results. In results, you're chasing the outcome. You're chasing what you desire. Maybe it's that big paycheck, maybe it's that nice bonus. But pursuit is it's something that you can't really attain. It's not like a tangible result. It's something you owe it. You're constantly working for. It's not achieving what you're pursuing isn't necessarily the end goal, but it's something you want to discover along the way.
Beautiful. Okay. So result, so you're saying pursuit is what you put into something. It's the effort that you put forward. Result is what comes out of it. Right? Kind of?
Kind of.
The outcome
Yeah.
of your effort. Okay. So again, Sam was with me at Amazon, we had our quotas, we had sales quotas that we had to hit. And we worked hard, and he knew, because he was a sales operation leader, he knew that he could have predicted that quota even if we had somebody in that position or not, sometimes. Because it wasn't always the result of the effort, and sometimes the effort that was put in, the result didn't actually reflect it the right way. And so what we realized, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, is that first, you're not the owner, He is. Allah's the owner. And second, you're not held responsible for the results. You're held responsible for the pursuit. You're held responsible to put the effort in and have the right intention. Not for what comes out at the end, right? Because why? We're not the owners. Like, how many things in our lives do we actually control? If you think about it, I was telling Lena, I was driving up from North Carolina. There were so many times where if there was an accident or a little bit more traffic or a little more whatever, or there's some road work, again, none of it I control. I would have been late, right? And just think about anything that we do in our lives, right? There's so many, being born, you didn't control that. You didn't make that decision. Which family you were born into, where you were born, you know, your skin color, right? Maybe if you tan, you can change a little bit incrementally, right? But your gender, like all of these things, you didn't choose. It wasn't in your control. So Allah doesn't hold you accountable for those things. But He holds us accountable for our effort that we put in the pursuit. So these are just two concepts just to ground like the transformation that I ended up going through. I needed these, and they really helped me and guided me. And then, inshallah, I was just going to say, I don't know, the end is coming. Okay, right before the Iqamah, I just want to do it like it's a quirky exercise. I made it up, so please have some grace with me. It's not, it's not a thing like professional or anything like that. But so the final kind of concept that we'll go over and we'll double click on is the alignment. Alignment versus misalignment, and Dr. Nina talked about this a little bit, and she used like ikigai, but there are other concepts and stuff that you use, and I'll show you a different one. But right before, so I was trying to figure out like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like what I just did with the pen and things like that. And so I thought of this exercise. So imagine if I give, what's your name? Ratilla. Imagine if I give Ratilla $5. So now you have $5. And then I give, what's your name, brother?
Atif.
Atif. If I give you car keys to a car that's parked outside, okay? So now you have a car, and Ratilla, you have $5. And then let's take one more. Who wants to volunteer? Sister, somebody from the sister side, because they show up, mashallah. Anybody? Okay, great. Remind me your name?
Nishwa?
Nishwa. You get a mobile phone with GPS on it. Okay? And your mission is within half an hour to get me a gallon of milk from a grocery store. That's your mission. Right? So think about that. Attila, what do you have? $5. And Atif, what do you have?
Car keys.
Car. A phone with GPS. Okay, so we've got financial resources, we've got mobility, and we've got navigation. Is there anything else you need for this mission? Not much, right? I mean, that should get you there. What should happen in this case to achieve the mission? And you have half an hour. Like, what should happen here? Ratil, what would you do?
I would ask after the 5 cars high. And then go to you to use your GPS and go to the store and go.
Okay, so you would ask them for what they have so you can go achieve the mission. Okay, what would you do?
Pretty much the same thing. Communicate, collaborate, maybe go together.
Go together, okay? Atif, what would you do?
I might take $5 in GPS and go by myself.
You would take, yeah, you would take it from them. That is, you guys did a great job. Thank you so, let's give them a hand. That was great. Because if we think about it, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us each different skills and different resources, right? And He gave us all the same mission, to worship only Him, and to enjoin in good and prevent harm and evil. But then He also told us to work together, to do it as a collective, right? So what Attila and Neshwa were saying, and then Atif is like, yeah, some people are going to say, hey, let's work together, guys. No, just give me your car. Like, give me your gifts, I'll use it, I'll go do this and accomplish the mission. Well, for us as Muslims, that doesn't work. Because if we take from others and we're not actually contributing and bringing people towards that mission, we actually fail in our responsibility, right? It doesn't work. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like when Dr. Dina was saying in community and belonging and building trust, how are we ever going to build trust if, hey, give me what you have, give me all the gifts that you have so I can go use it to accomplish my mission, right? And that's a lot of times what happens. We forget the fact that, hey, we all have the same objective. We're all on the same team. But we each have different strengths and different resources. It's like pieces of the puzzle. The puzzle will never come together if we don't work together and share. And actually, what was the first thing that needed to happen between Attila, like for them specifically? What did they have to do first? I'll ask other people.
Communicate.
Okay, communicate. Okay. What else? Did they right away know what I gave them? Like, did they realize, like, okay, the $5, okay, car, like, okay, what? Like, the first thing we have to do is recognize what we have. Recognize what it is that we have in context of the mission, or else it's useless. So we'll resume, inshallah, after the salah. Jazakumullah.
expressing their joy coming to it. Because the board of trustees have been told that the board of trustees and Imam Majid have been told by Sajjad and Noor that, oh, no one shows up to his programming, he doesn't plan anything, the youth don't like him, anyone who's interacted with him loves him. Plenty of people have been showing up to his programming, and also like Sajjad was saying like, oh, he doesn't meet the metrics of any other youth coordinator in any of the local massages. Like, he outperforms them. What are you talking about? He has more programming for Adams and Adams related events than or any event associated with Adams than any other national area. And not to mention, he has bring the numbers back up because of this programming. Like, I'm sorry, lately, let's not from the grounding, I don't know but any other program that he has planned has had amazing numbers. People have been in attendance, and he's just been doing a phenomenal job. So they've been fed this narrative that is just completely untrue, and frankly, it's disturbing that they would lie so miserably, and that they would just make all of this crap up. It's disheartening that a man lost his livelihood because two people want to manipulate people. And the thing is, because Imam Majid is such a busy man, he's only really in contact with the board of directors, or sorry, board of trustees, and the executive director, and probably more as well. But Noor is specifically more responsible for the termination of Ramadan. But yeah, so he's only able to talk with them, and so they're the ones in his ear, so he was also manipulated by them, and so he can't really defend himself. So if they're telling the board oh, Omar Khan is all of these things, and then the board is also telling him that, so the thing is, it all comes back to them. Any person who has interacted with Omar Khan, come to his events, anything he's done, anything that's anything adjacent to him has always positively impacted anyone around. So this is really disturbing and distressing. There is no grounds for people came to ask for reasoning as to why is he why was he terminated? And they have no tangible, concrete reason. There was nothing. I can show you the answers that he gave, but a summary of the answers that he gave. He wasn't actually able to give anything. It was very much a politician about it. Politicians will speak in circles and dance around the subject and he was like, oh well, Omar Khan doesn't want me to talk about this, protect his privacy. Omar Khan wants to know why he's fired too. He wants to know because there was no concrete reasoning given to him either. So. And also Omar Khan never said oh, I don't want people to know. He doesn't want his family to be hurt because of what he's doing. That's what he's concerned about. So he's been telling everyone, oh, Omar Khan doesn't want people to know. Omar Khan wants people to know, and they want people to know that he is actively hurting the community and is actively hurting the work environment, which eventually all of that resentment and that fear that people have for their jobs will trickle down to the community itself. We are all going to feel it. And we are starting to feel it. Anyone who's paying attention is feeling it. So, all that being said, yeah, we're campaigning for the well-deserved removal and replacement of Sajjad and Noor.
What's the process for that?
So far we're flooding the board of trustees and CCing Imam Majid with testimony, experience positive experience that we've had with him, saying that we're distressed about the lack of transparency in the firing process, and that we're also frustrated because they took away funding from Bahwa. We're stressed out about the lack of consideration for the youth community, and he wants us to focus on how the youth community is being impacted from this, by all of this, by his decisions, by his lack of considerate decisions. And so, yeah, that's what we're focusing on, and then eventually we're going to try to continue to build and build and build, and we're also going to talk to we're going to try to garner enough momentum and attention to talk to the board of trustees. So
if there's enough outcry and outrage, which as soon as this next bit of news breaks out within the next 24 hours, there is going to be enough support. Yeah. I know I sound probably like I'm crazy.
No,
But
you're right to feel emotional. Anyone
we're losing our place in the community. All of these decisions, these financial decisions have always been made at the expense of the youth community. And he was reviving it. He was actively reviving like the youth community in general. There was like a strong Papua community when Sadiq was here, and then he left and then it all died out. And so Amar Khan was actively rebuilding. He was actively refueling the youth community here and the youth events. And they're just like, oh, it's not doing it. Like, what do you mean? Like, I've watched the numbers build over the past however many months. But anyway, yeah, it's just, it's distressing and disturbing. There are people who are like spying and like reporting back to them, and like, honestly, I think that they're like,
They're doing too much.
yeah, like why are you like, look, I get it if they're like film, like I get that you're related to them, but why are you supporting their evil activities? Like what's like, why are you also equal that you're supporting? Like the thing is, okay, as Muslims, we help the oppressed and the oppressor, and the way that we help the oppressor is by rectifying, like getting them to rectify what they're doing wrong. That is what we do. So the fact that they have, what's it called, they have enablers is insane. And they're all delusional, all of them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free them from their delusions. Sorry, I have a lot of feelings clearly, but and like I got hot-headed in the upper chat at one point, and I had to like acknowledge, like, hey, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm the figurehead of this, but I also kind of understand because I'm not going to get fired. I'm not going to be the one that's going to have like, you know, repercussions or face repercussions because of, you know, what they're like what I'm inciting. And that everyone else is safe as long as I'm the one speaking up. So if I'm the one facing consequences, I like, you know, I get banned from Buffalo events, or I get banned from Adams, I get banned from group chats, so be it. I'll still find one way or another to like, dude, they banned Imam Abdul Rafa like before, and then there's like a whole like insurrection essentially. Yeah, and so yeah. There was a borderline like insurrection to get him back. Hi, Brother Charles.
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you?
Well, great, as a matter of fact. To know that a place like this actually exists.
Well, we don't actually know how much longer this place is going to exist because they got rid of our youth director and they're slowly disintegrating our youth department.
I'm sorry?
They got rid of our youth director and they're slowly disintegrating our youth department. They took away hospital funding, and that was as soon as the current executive director came into his position. And so we're trying to encourage people to mobilize, send the board of trustees, and CC Imam Majid sharing about their frustration at the lack of transparency in the termination process, which has like no base and no clarity as to why Omar Khan was terminated. And we also are sharing our positive experiences with him or any of his programming, any Aqua programming, because the board of trustees and Imam Majid were told by Sajjad Ahmed, who is the executive director, and Rosh Shams, who is the chief of staff, that somebody connecting, that essentially that there was no turnout, that he was bad with the youth, and that he was not performing to the same metrics as other youth directors in the area, even though he's been outperforming them and he's been able to build momentum in the month that he's been here, the few months, almost like a year that he's been here. So we're deeply upset, and they keep making these financial decisions at the expense of the youth community. So if you wouldn't mind supporting us in this and emailing the board of trustees and CCing on about frustration and disheartenment over what's taking place.
Well, this is the first I've heard of my place, and I know it's certainly been something that's very precious and something enough to be supported and defended and respected and not to be put aside. And I think we should be cooperating with one another, going forward. Believe me, so.
You're on one side, right? When I saw the circle, was it reminding you?
I added this one each time of the year.
Oh.
Yeah, that's important.
The change, the value of this place in many ways is to be fully appreciated by knowing what this place was like in the last 50, 60, 70 years. From Northern Virginia in the 1950s and the 1960s, when segregation was still legal.
Yeah, you know, we're like starting your Yeah, when he mentioned
We're gonna go ahead and get started, we don't have a lot of time. So, I just wanna take one or two reactions to the exercise, the milk mission exercise. Anybody wanna give me a reaction? What did you think about that? Did that make sense? Did it resonate, or was it like just a quirky exercise that I love it up? I'm gonna call on people, nobody raises their hand. Go sisters first. Who has something to say? Any reactions? Or call on people?
When you asked first, I didn't think, I assumed that people know what they have. So I very clear with communication, but of course, you're right. Even if you told me, I give you $5, I need to pause and think, okay, what I really have and what can I do with it? I was going through some planning, recognizing what I have and planning.
Yeah, so you go right to thinking about it, right? Yeah, like what do I have? So that's why like I love to bring things into like very simple, practical, concepts, because a lot of times like I want to be a good Muslim. What does that mean, right? Like, and what does not a good Muslim look like? I want to serve Islam. I want to serve the community. What does that mean? How are you going to serve them? What are you contributing? What are you offering? Do you even know what you have, right? And that's why like this milk mission example was really good, because a lot of times we are living somebody else's life that they want us to live. I see, oh my God, you're such a good engineer. You should get an engineer. Or you're good at math, you should get an engineer. Okay, but I don't know. Like, I don't know yet. I have kids that, my son is getting in his last year of high school, so he's about to go to college, and we make these mistakes as parents sometimes. Oh man, you're doing so good in biology, you should be a doctor, And it's like, maybe he's just good at biology, or he has a great teacher, he's doing great there, So we sometimes limit each other, and sometimes, most of the time, the limitation is from ourselves. And why? This was the realization for me that I never, it took me a long time to get to. We think we know ourselves. Like we think, oh yeah, I know, obviously it's me. All right.
I'll get you some more batteries.
Sounds great. So So, say, yeah, I think,
Hear you.
yeah, you can hear me. So, you think you know yourself, but you actually don't. You have to do a lot of work to get to know who you are. Because you didn't create yourself. Somebody, Allah created you. Right? If He's the creator, then how would you know? You have to go to Him and say, Allah, what did you create me for? What amazing gifts have you given me? And really have that conversation. And then start looking around and say, hey, what comes naturally to me? And then ask people around you. It went like, your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your teachers, your friends. What do you love about me? Like, what am I good at? Because sometimes we don't see it in ourselves. Things that might come really naturally to us might not come as naturally to other people. And that's a gift, right? And so that's when I started figuring out, who knows Simon Sinek? Anybody heard of Simon Sinek? He's like a leadership guru, coach, that kind of thing. So okay, awesome. So I had listened to some of his stuff from like 12 years ago. He did a TED Talk. It became really important about starting with why. He wrote a book about it. And it really captured me because he put words to things that I was always asking myself. But he addressed it in the beginning around leaders, inspirational leaders. What do inspirational leaders do? And how do they speak? And how do they inspire people? And so that's when he got to this, and I like this model because it's just easy to understand. He got to this thing where he said, inspirational leaders, like for example, and companies like Apple, for example, he said, and ignore the who for now, just focus on what, how, and why, okay? He said, a lot of people might say, oh, Apple makes computers and phones and stuff like that, right? And they make them really cool, they design them in a really cool way. And they do it because they like to create, different things that aren't out there. Or do it in a different way. And he said that's not very inspirational, but the way that Apple actually speaks about itself, the way that Steve Jobs spoke about Apple and that really inspired people, he would say things like, we believe in thinking differently. We believe in disrupting the status quo. And we do that by bringing a different way to design things and making them beautiful. And we happen to make computers, if you guys want to buy one. And so that there's a different approach when you're talking about the why, the how, and then the what, versus going backwards. What you do, what you make, how you do it, and then why you, right? So I'll give you another example. And I'll explain it. So the what is actually the things that we do. Right? The things that are observable. So for example, if I ask, let's see, sister, what do you do for a living?
I work in consulting.
Okay, what company?
I work at IBM.
Okay. So people can see, what's your name? Ibreeze. People can see Ibreeze working in IBM in consulting. It's an observable thing. It's very easy to explain. There's language around it, right? So that's the what. I'm an accountant. I'm a finance person. I'm a student. I go to high school. You can observe that and put words to it. That's the what. The how are behaviors and values in action. So if I ask you, some people really make fun of consultants. How are you different as a consultant?
I guess I try not to use as much like corporate jargon as other people and try to actually just say what I'm doing.
What is that? What kind of value does that align to?
I guess like authenticity.
Okay. So you're authentic because you're not using a bunch of jargon and a bunch of words that people might not understand to make yourself look better or smarter. So you're honest. Okay, so honest, it's really hard. See how you had a harder time describing the value versus describing what you did. And that's normal. That's our biology, right? By the way, I actually did a full week course, it was over like 60 hours, to get certified in this. This is like a big thing for coaching, right? Because it's such an important part of what we're talking about here, and it kind of goes back to the mission of the milk. If you don't know what you have, then how are you going to be able to execute on your mission properly? Because we're stewards, we're not owners, right? So we'll keep going back to this. So the how are the values in action. So if somebody says, you know what, I really care about being an honest person. The Rasul ﷺ was a sadiq al-amin. He was the trustworthy and the honest, right? But the next thing is, how do you put that into action? I speak straight to you, I don't use jargon. That's a how, right? I'm a consultant, and the difference about me as a consultant, my value that I bring to this job is my honesty, because I speak directly. And customers love that. I don't write very well, so please forgive me. Now, when I ask you about what inspires you about having this job, or what inspires Idris?
That's an even harder question to answer, especially about this particular job. But
Don't worry about the job,
Yeah.
just what inspires you?
I guess ultimately like helping people, and specifically like, I guess ultimately like protecting people from systems that might be harmful to them.
Oh, okay. So you're like a cybersecurity McAfee kind of robotic agent. You protect people from systems that are harmful. See how hard it is to describe, like, what is at your core that inspires you? Why do you wake up in the morning? What do you go and get inspired and excited to do? Right? And the beautiful thing about this is the reason why it's so easy to explain our what, and then it becomes much harder to explain the how and the why, is because of how Allah created us. So it's the brain. We have this thing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, doctor. We have this thing called the limbic system. And the limbic brain is like the core inside the brain. It's the oldest part of the brain. It's the part where determines our behavior, our feelings, like trust, love, right? Honesty, like things that we value, and things that we really care about. Same thing for the values. It sits in the limbic brain, and it determines our behavior. Outside the neocortex is where language sits. So in the limbic system, there's no language. There's no ability to express those things in language. It's just feeling. Like when you get goosebumps, or when you cry all of a sudden, or you get hot, your body's like you're scared, right? You're not saying words yet. You're feeling something, and it's just happening naturally, organically. That's coming from your limbic system. And so why is it so hard for us to explain our values and our core, like the things that inspire us? Because we know they inspire us when we get those goosebumps, when we feel really excited, but we don't know how to put words to it because that sits outside the brain, in the neocortex, right? So so it needs a lot of work. And a lot of us don't pursue that knowledge about ourselves. What really gets me excited? And that's what I had to go through after this career of like amazing accomplishments and all this stuff. I was like, I am not inspired to do this kind of work anymore. Something was inspiring me. I was working with amazing people. I was inspiring them. I was believing in them. I was helping them unblock things that were there for them. But then all of a sudden it became, oh, now you have this big organization. Oh, now you got to start laying some people off. Oh, now you got to start hitting these numbers and those, and this is not enough. You have to go do this and that. I was like, whoa, hold up. That's not what really, like, I don't feel good about that. And I had to go back to myself saying, why? And that's when I started to realize that what really inspires me is something totally different than what I thought it was. I was defining myself by what I did. Then I got a little smarter and was like, oh yeah. It's not just what I do. I'm a business developer, I'm a general manager, in tech, I'm a sales leader. But what makes me different is I'm honest. Okay, there's a lot of honest people in that space. Like honesty is very broad. I'm this, I do it because I care about people, okay? What shows us that you actually care, like what behaviors show us that you care about people? What does that look like? And then, why are you actually doing it? And so what I realized, subhanAllah, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He inspired each one of us. In the first surah that the Imam read, he read Surah Al-Shams. And in that surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He has inspired in each of us our nafs. He has inspired in each of us the right way and the wrong way. And the one who wins, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, is the one who purifies it. And the one who loses, وَخَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا, the one who loses is the one that covers it up. Right? So, what I learned from that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His own attributes. Right? The 99 attributes of Allah. And those attributes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He inspired each one of us. Just like that milk mission where some people had the money, some people had the car, some people had the GPS. Right? He inspired in each of us something that goes towards His attributes. But then there's also the bad side, which takes us to the attributes of the shaitan. And we get to choose. Do we want to be like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What inspires us? Is it what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created and put in us and His attributes? Or are we going to go towards the other side? And that's when your why, there's a process that we would go through. If I sit down, if anybody wants to go through this is a 2 to 4 hour exercise where we would sit down to discover your why, your unique why. It's inspired by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's inspired by your own childhood and usually up to your teenage years. And then it becomes pretty solidified. And this is biology, how Allah created us. And to discover that allows you to do what? It allows you to live an extremely inspired life where you become like the people that Alhamdulillah said, hey, every day when I go to work, I'm inspired because this is what I want to do. This is what I believe in. That's not an easy thing to get to. And even when you think you know that's what it is, today it might be being a teacher or building Islamic schools. Tomorrow, you have a huge mess in the Islamic school because the board is not getting along and the funding is gone or whatever. What do I want to do now? Why? Because a lot of times we sit in here, in the what. Very easy to describe that. But until you really figure out, what did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why do I exist? Why did Allah create me? And all these gifts and strengths that He gave me, that then leads to your having this conviction and belief, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm here to do. And the way we kind of, the statement that we would come out with is, it's a contribution, and then, so what? So that, and the impact. So for example, I think, Dr. Lina, you were saying how you went into medical school to heal people. So your calling Your why is I live to heal people, right? So that they can live healthy, fulfilling lives. That would be like a statement we might come out with after we go through your discovery and say, wow, you're a healer. And guess what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of his attributes is the healer. Shafi. Right? And if you can't connect it to an attribute of Allah, then there's still more work to be done. Because the only way we can fulfill the trust of Allah is if He gave us the ingredient to do that. The only way we can fulfill the mission and the trust that He's entrusted us with is if He put it inside of us. And that's the problem that I had. I was working from outside in. I was thinking if I make money, if I do the right things, then I can give to the masjid, then I'm doing good, then I get good deeds. Versus Allah put something in me that I can go do to help inspire people, that allows them to go beyond their limitations and helps them come together and multiply the impact that they have on each other. That is my why. I didn't realize that because I always focused on what it was I was doing. And that's how important it is to figure out and start with your inside and then go out. Because your outside, what you do today is not going to be what you do tomorrow. It could change, and it will change. Even people say, for example, I live for my kids. Well, then your kids grow up and don't need you anymore. So who are you living for? What do you do when you wake up in the morning and there's no kids in the house? Allah did not give you that kind of limited inspiration. He inspired you for the rest of your life. You've got to find it. And the way you find it is by really digging deep into what are my strengths? What do I believe in? What are the values that I hold really dear? And how do I show that in my behavior? So finally, and we're going to go through reflections, inshallah. You're going to have a chance to actually ask yourself these questions and then talk amongst each other. Because what ends up happening, which is actually really tragic, and I'll give you a company example. Everybody knows Kodak? Okay. So the Kodak founder, and usually if you're a founder-run company, your why is the same why of the company, like as the founder. Your why will thrive. The why will be what Dr. Nina says. The founder of Kodak, his why was to capture, to be able to capture and share the moments, the special moments that people have, where it can always be at their fingertips, so they can be inspired to live each day, loving the people that are, that are part of their life, right? So it was about capturing those moments and sharing them. Well, Kodak, later on, after the founder left and all that, before he left, they were 150,000 people all over the world. They were the premier, company in their field. They created the category. After he left, they thought they were a photography company. Not about memories and moments and loved ones. They thought they were a photography company. So what happened? They missed all of the opportunities over digital and all of these things that happen where you have all these other companies like Apple and whoever created those devices that ended up being the ones that we go to all the time. Whereas Kodak became a 5,000 person company right now. They filed for bankruptcy years ago. And the only people they serve, their customers, are professional photographers, which are the people that he was in business to put out of business initially because of his why. I want everybody to be able to have those moments at their fingertips. So think about the misalignment that occurs in our lives when we mistake what we do for why we exist. Right? Our identity, what we do for why we exist. And why is this so critical? Because when you have alignment between your why and your what, that's when you get authenticity. Have you ever seen people where, like you have somebody, for example, who's, 65, 70 years old, let's say. I'm not looking at you, Charles. You're my guy.
Whatever.
But somebody who's much older, and they're trying to wear what kids today are wearing, right? And you look at them, and then they're even speaking in that way. I don't know what the new terminology is. There's a lot of new terminology. I don't keep up with that.
You're not missing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, would you say like this person is really behaving in an authentic manner? No. Why? Because what he's doing and how he's behaving, how he's carrying himself, is not consistent with his age and his demographics and all of that, right? It's just, you can see it, right? So when we say somebody's acting inauthentic or whatever, it's because there isn't consistency. They say, oh, guys, it's all about honesty. You see these logos on, these great sayings on the walls of companies all the time, transparency and honesty and excellence and all this stuff. And then people kind of like, yeah, whatever, like, we don't even know what they're trying to do. Like tomorrow they just announced a bunch of layoffs or whatever. How is that transparent, right? So of course you're like, this is not consistent. So that's where, for us as people, that happens too. When you see a Muslim wearing a hijab, for example, and behaving in a way that a Muslim doesn't behave,
Wait until after the program.
you're like, man, something's off. Like, what's going on? This doesn't make any sense, right? Or a brother who's wearing, a kufi and jalabiya and all of that, and he's cussing a storm, right? It's like, oh, hold on, something's wrong about this picture. So that's where you can tell something's off. And a lot of times what we end up doing as defense mechanisms is we compartmentalize. That's what I ended up doing. That's what I was doing. That's what got me through a lot of things where my family's over here, and Nina showed that graphic, in her presentation. Family's over here, my community's over here, my work is over here, and nothing touches the other. And as long as we have that, everything's cool. Because I know how to behave in this space, and I know how to behave in this space, and I know how to behave here. But that just breaks you. After years of trying to figure, who am I? Like, am I that guy? Or am I that guy? Or who am I? And it really breaks you. So you have to start to ask these tough questions, and that's what we're going to practice, inshallah, in the discussion circles. And I can't wait to kind of hear your perspectives and how you're addressed, how you're thinking about that, because it's a real valuable exercise. This ended up changing my life when I discovered my why and how I wanted to live my life, how I wanted to carry myself in a way that fulfills the trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed in me, because all of the things that He gave me, whether it's family and friends and community and all the different gifts, it's already here. I don't have to go look for it somewhere else. All I needed to figure out is, where am I needed and how can I be useful to other people? And so I quit a multi-million-dollar job, right? And we founded, alhamdulillah, Forerunners. And we decided that what we're going to do is actually help inspire people to find themselves, to find their purpose, to live according to their purpose, and be able to say, yes, this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Umar, and this is Umar's contribution to the world, and this is how this is his adab, his characteristics, right? These are the values in action, right? I inspire, and I like to see people, I like to understand who they are, I like to work with them one-on-one, right? That's how I kind of show myself and my behavior. And then what I do now, after I left my job, my corporate job, what I do can fill this whole I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Just the other day, subhanAllah, we had a brother that we're helping a health IT company grow their company, right? It's Muslim founded company, we're helping them grow. And so I talked to another brother who was in health IT. I was like, hey, you're looking for a job. There's a great opportunity here. Let's see how we can do that. And we were talking, and he had some good ideas. And then at the same time, Awais, my co-founder, was doing a strategy session with one of the premier Muslim institutions. And so the guy on the phone that I was talking to, the brother was like, hold up, you're helping this for-profit health IT company grow in this sector and doing international work and stuff. And then you guys are also doing the strategic plan for the institution that all my kids are going to. And how are you guys doing all that? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Because in our company, like, that would never make sense. Like, hold on, you're doing nonprofit, Islamic, supporting them and planning and strategy, and then you're also helping this technology, like, how is that working? How does that happen? Well, it happens because the same thing is going on. It's just what is going on is different. It just happens to be different at that point. And that's what I told us, like, when you work for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He puts you wherever you're needed. So it's not that we're everywhere, we're just where we need to be, because that's where Allah chose us to be. So I appreciate you guys, I appreciate all of your answers, I appreciate your engagement, and inshallah you'll have a really good time discussing the reflection questions to help get us to this level of alignment between the communities that we live in, that we belong to, that we build, the identities that we nurture, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for, the mission that we have, and then what is our role, what is my role in helping fulfill that trust and that mission. And it's all dependent on, do I really know myself? Do I know my values? And am I living it? And then the who is the connection back to the community. Who am I doing it with? And we get to choose. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us all stewards that make Him proud. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gather all of us in Jannah and tell us, you have fulfilled the trust, you have fulfilled the mission. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring us all together to multiply the impact that we can have and heal the challenges and the threats and the harm that exists today, inshallah, overcoming all of that with beauty, with light, and with worship. Wassalamu alaikum.